Have you ever noticed that intimacy doesn't begin in the bedroom? It begins long before that, not with dramatic moves, not with rehearsed lines, just small shifts in attention. The way you listen, the way you slow down, the way you make her feel seen instead of rushed. Most men think foreplay is a technique. But the real difference often starts hours earlier, in tone, presence, and emotional safety. It shows up in subtle ways, in how you hold eye contact a second longer, in how you touch without immediately escalating, in how you build anticipation instead of trying to impress. Intimacy isn't about speed, it's about tension, timing, and awareness. When done right, it feels effortless. When rushed, it feels mechanical. Most people focus on performance, but the strongest attraction grows from connection layered with anticipation. In this video, we're breaking down 3 simple but powerful shifts that change how intimacy feels, without turning it into a script, and without overcomplicating what should feel natural. Now we are going into the first patterns. The signs are not dramatic, not big enough to be called a red flag, but subtle enough to throw off the rhythm if you are not paying attention. And this is important. This is not about blaming her. It is about reading the dynamic that is forming. Sign 1. You rush when she is opening. The behavior is very specific. She starts responding. Her body softens. Her breathing becomes deeper. Her eye contact lingers longer. And you speed up, your hands move faster. The kiss becomes more direct. You move to the main act just as she is beginning to open up. Why does this happen? Because somewhere in your mind, there is a quiet fear. If I do not take advantage of this moment, the opportunity will pass. That is a scarcity mindset. But a woman's nervous system does not operate on that logic. Her arousal needs buildup. It needs space. It needs anticipation. When you accelerate too early, her body does not think he is passionate. It thinks I am being pulled faster than my own rhythm. And her nervous system will subtly shift into alert mode. It is not that she does not want it. She is just not ready yet. The common mistake men make here is believing they need to do more, push harder, be more skilled. But in the spirit of her logic, when the dynamic starts going off rhythm, the right response is not to add force. It is to slow down. Slow down 1 beat. Hold eye contact. Notice her breathing instead of focusing on the goal. Slow does not mean losing the opportunity. Slow means preserving tension. If you have ever rushed too soon because you were afraid of losing the moment, comment I rushed. Sign 2. You touch the body but ignore the emotion. This is a very common pattern among experienced men. You know what to do. You know which areas are sensitive. You know how to create a reaction. But you forget one thing: emotional connection. The behavior often looks like this: less eye contact, fewer pauses, more focus on technique than presence, moving quickly to sensitive areas before anticipation is fully built. What is happening underneath? You are in performance mode. You want to do it right. You want to impress. You want to be good enough. But women do not separate the body from the mind. For her, foreplay is not just technique. It is the feeling of being desired, being noticed, being understood. If connection is missing, her body may respond a little. But depth will not appear. And when depth does not appear, arousal fades quickly. The mistake is thinking that enough time means enough connection, or believing foreplay is just about stretching out the clock. From the her logic perspective, you do not need to do more. You need to be more present. Touch slowly in neutral areas. Hold eye contact longer than usual. Allow silence to exist without rushing to fill it. Anticipation is built through intentional distance, not speed. Like the video, if you are starting to realize that slow is actually fast. Sign 3. She starts going quiet. This is a subtle but extremely important sign. She does not protest. She does not push you away. She does not say, I do not like this. She simply responds less. The kiss becomes less deep. Her body becomes less active. Her sounds get softer. Her eye contact does not linger anymore. Most men either do not notice or try to ignore it. They continue as if nothing has changed. Or they panic and start asking rapid questions. Are you okay? Did I do something wrong? Do you not like this? Both reactions come from anxiety. When women lose connection, they usually do not argue. They withdraw. Silence is not rejection. Silence is a signal. And if you panic, the dynamic will go further off balance. The right response is not to force her back into engagement. It is to stop. Actually stop. Look at her. Stay calm. Breathe slowly. You might gently ask, are you okay? No interrogation, no defensiveness, no proving yourself, just steadiness. The issue is not that she goes quiet. The issue is how you handle that silence. If this pattern feels familiar, comment, does this pattern sound familiar? Because in the next part, we will go deeper. The signs will no longer be on the surface. They will be in the way you start rationalizing everything when you feel her pulling away. In the previous section, we talked about surface level signs, small shifts in rhythm, but now we are going deeper. Because the most dangerous thing is not her behavior, it is the way you interpret it in your own mind. Sign 4, you start rationalizing everything. This is a very subtle moment. She becomes less proactive. She does not hold eye contact as long. She responds, but not with the same intensity as before. And instead of observing, you begin explaining things for her. Maybe she is just tired. Maybe work has been stressful today. Maybe I am overthinking. All of those things could be true. But the issue is not the content of the explanation. It is the motive behind it. You are trying to calm your own anxiety. It is like when a warning light turns on in your car dashboard, and instead of checking the engine, you cover the light with tape so you do not have to see it. The car keeps running, but you know something is not right. When you repeatedly rationalize patterns that keep happening, you start losing your internal compass. And a man without a compass will begin steering according to someone else's emotions. This is where the dynamic quietly shifts. She has not taken control, but you have already handed it over by refusing to look at what is actually happening. The truth is not that she is wrong. The truth is that your rhythms are no longer aligned, and you choose not to see it. Sign 5. You shift from presence to performance. This is a more dangerous escalation. After a few moments where she pulls back slightly, you become overly aware of yourself. You check your technique. You try to do better. You try to prove you are still desirable. You are no longer in the moment. You are in your head. And when you are in your head, your body changes. Your breathing becomes shorter. Your movements become rushed. Your eye contact loses its steadiness. Women are highly sensitive to this shift. Their desire responds to certainty, not over effort. When you enter performance mode, you unintentionally signal, I am trying not to lose you. And that energy lowers the tension. It is like a dance. If one person starts counting every step in their head because they are afraid of making a mistake, the dance loses its natural flow. The painful part is this. You think you are trying to protect the connection, but that effort is what makes the connection thinner. Sign 6. You start fearing losing her more than losing yourself. This is the real turning point. Not when she pulls her hand away, not when she says she is tired, but when you start changing yourself just to avoid feeling rejected. You no longer lead the rhythm. You wait for her reaction before you act. You analyze every small expression as if it determines your value. This is a crack in the foundation. A small crack, but if you do not see it, it will spread. The danger is not that she loses interest. The danger is that you lose your stability. When you fear losing her more than you fear losing your self-respect, the dynamic has already flipped. And here is the paradox. The more you try to hold on, the more tense you become. The more tense you become, the less natural you feel. The less natural you feel, the more she senses something has changed. This is not a story about who is right or wrong. This is a story about energy. A grounded man does not need to prove himself. He observes. He adjusts the rhythm, and if necessary, he stops without collapsing internally. If you are in this stage where you feel like you have to try harder than usual just to maintain a moment, you are not alone. Many men have been here, and the good news is this. Recognizing it is the first step to reclaiming your compass. If you see yourself in these lines, maybe it is time not to try harder, but to stand steadier. And if analyses like this help you see the dynamic clearly instead of blaming yourself, you can subscribe to her logic to continue learning how to observe instead of panic. In the final part, we will talk about the strongest sign, the sign that shows you are not just losing rhythm with her, but slowly losing yourself. There is one sign stronger than everything we have talked about. It is not when she hesitates. It is not when she goes quiet. It is not when her energy cools down. It is the moment you think, if I just try a little harder, everything will be fine. That is the turning point. You start believing that if you are more patient, more skilled, more subtle, more accommodating, the dynamic will go back to the way it was. And sometimes that is true. Sometimes adjusting the rhythm is enough. But there are moments when you are no longer adjusting because you understand the dynamic. You are adjusting because you are afraid of losing her. This is the strongest sign. When you stop asking, am I still grounded? And you only ask, how do I get her back to where she was before? You shift from being a partner to someone asking for emotional validation. And this is hard to notice because it is not loud. It happens inside you. You smile more than necessary. You avoid saying what you really think. You become overly sensitive to every small change. You measure your value by the level of her reaction. At this point, the dynamic is no longer two people meeting each other. It is you orbiting around her. The mindset that needs to be reversed here is a familiar one. If I just try a little harder, trying harder is not always strength. Sometimes strength is knowing when to stop. Stopping is not quitting in panic. Stopping is keeping your self-respect when you feel yourself shrinking. Self-respect is quiet. It does not need announcements. It simply means you do not trade your stability for a moment of intimacy. If she needs space, you give space without doubting yourself. If she pulls back, you observe without lowering your own value. If the dynamic shifts, you adjust without losing your center. This is the core spirit that her logic always emphasizes. Her logic does not teach you how to manipulate a woman's emotions. It does not teach you to control. It does not teach you to be suspicious without reason. It teaches you to read patterns, to stay aware, and most importantly, not to lie to yourself. You cannot control her desire, but you can always control your own stability. And the paradox is this: when you are truly grounded, you no longer feel the need to hold on. Maybe she comes back, maybe the dynamic recalibrates on its own, or maybe both of you realize the rhythm no longer matches. But in every scenario, you walk away without the feeling that you lost yourself. The next time she pulls back, will you rush to fix the situation, or will you slow down, hold eye contact, steady your breathing, and hold on to yourself? If this video helped you see more clearly instead of panic more intensely, leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to keep learning how to understand dynamics without becoming bitter or controlling, subscribe to her logic. Because the moment she pulls back is not a test of your value. It is just a signal. The real question is this: will you respond from fear or from stability?